The year 1914 dawned with Europe on a precipice. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie in Sarajevo ignited the powder keg. Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist, carried out the assassination. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, issued an ultimatum to Serbia. Serbia, backed by Russia, could not accept all the terms. Germany declared war on Russia on August 1, 1914. 2 days later, Germany declared war on France and invaded Belgium. Great Britain declared war on Germany on August 4, 1914. The First World War was a conflict on an unprecedented scale, drawing in nations from across the globe. On one side stood the Central Powers, primarily Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. On the other side stood the Allied powers, led by France, Russia, Great Britain, and later joined by Italy and the United States. The early years of the war were characterized by brutal trench warfare on the Western Front, stretching across France and Belgium. Millions of soldiers found themselves bogged down in a nightmarish landscape of mud, barbed wire, and relentless artillery bombardments. New technologies of war, such as machine guns, poison gas, and tanks, emerged, only to heighten the carnage. On the Eastern Front, the conflict was more fluid, but equally devastating. Russia, with its vast army but antiquated infrastructure, faced off against Germany and Austria-Hungary in a series of costly battles. The Ottoman Empire, embroiled in its own internal struggles, joined the Central Powers, opening up a new front in the Middle East. The First World War was not confined to the battlefields of Europe. The vast colonial empires of the European powers drew colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific into the conflict. Soldiers from India, Australia, Canada, Senegal, and countless other colonies fought and died in a war far from their homes. The war had a profound impact on the global economy. European nations, their resources drained by the conflict, turned to their colonies for raw materials and manpower. This led to increased exploitation and fueled nationalist movements in many colonial territories. The war also had a lasting impact on the social fabric of European societies. Women, with men away fighting, took on new roles in factories, farms, and hospitals. The horrors of the war and the immense loss of life led to disillusionment and a questioning of traditional values. By 1918, after more than 4 years of devastating warfare, the Central Powers began to crumble. Germany, facing exhaustion and internal unrest, sued for peace. The armistice was signed on November 11, 1918, bringing an end to the fighting. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war. The treaty, however, was harsh and punitive towards Germany. Germany was forced to accept responsibility for the war, cede territory, disarm, and pay heavy reparations. While the treaty aimed to prevent future wars, it sowed the seeds of resentment in Germany. The economic burden of reparations crippled the German economy, while the loss of territory and national pride fueled nationalist and revanchist sentiments. The Treaty of Versailles, meant to be a blueprint for peace, instead became a contributing factor to the outbreak of World War II. Section 5. Rise of the Third Reich. The seeds of World War II are sown. The interwar period from 1919 to 1939 was a time of political and economic turmoil. The Great Depression, which began in 1929, plunged the world into an economic crisis. In Germany, the economic hardship, coupled with the resentment over the Treaty of Versailles, created fertile ground for extremist ideologies. The Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler, exploited the widespread discontent and rose to power in Germany in 1933. Hitler, a charismatic orator with a message of national revival and racial purity, promised to restore German greatness. Hitler's Germany embarked on a course of militarization and expansion, violating the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria, a move that met with little resistance from other European powers. Emboldened, Hitler turned his attention to Czechoslovakia, demanding the Sudetenland, a region with a large German population. From Poland to Pearl Harbor, the Second World War engulfs the globe. The invasion of Poland on September 1, 1939 marked the beginning of World War II. France and Great Britain declared war on Germany on September 3, 1939. Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France all fell to the Nazi war machine. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, bringing the United States into the war. Section 7. The Atomic Dawn, a new era of warfare and the end of World War II. The entry of the United States into the war tipped the balance in favor of the Allies. The tide turned with the U.S. victory at Midway in June 1942. The Soviet Union began to push back against the German invaders. The Battle of Stalingrad marked a turning point in the war. In June 1944, the Allies landed in Normandy, opening a second front. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki ushered in a new era of warfare. Japan's surrender on August 15, 1945, ended World War II. Section 8. The Shadow of the Cold War, a different kind of conflict. World War II left a legacy of devastation and profound geopolitical change. Europe, once the center of global power, lay in ruins. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged from the conflict as the world's two superpowers, their rivalry shaping the latter half of the 20th century. The Cold War, a period of intense ideological and geopolitical competition between the capitalist West, led by the United States, and the Communist East, led by the Soviet Union, cast a long shadow over the world. While not a hot war in the traditional sense, the Cold War was characterized by proxy wars, espionage, propaganda, and the constant threat of nuclear annihilation. The Cold War also led to the formation of military alliances, such as NATO and the Warsaw Pact, and a global arms race. The superpowers poured vast resources into developing ever more destructive weapons, including thermonuclear bombs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles. The world lived under the constant threat of nuclear war, a chilling reminder of the destructive power of modern technology. Section 9. The Spectre of World War III, Potential Flashpoints and Global Anxieties. The end of the Cold War with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 did not usher in an era of universal peace. The world today faces a complex web of interconnected challenges, including terrorism, climate change, resource scarcity, and rising nationalism, any of which could potentially spark a global conflict. The rise of China as a global power, with its growing military capabilities and assertive foreign policy, has shifted the balance of power and created new tensions. The South China Sea, with its overlapping territorial claims and vital shipping lanes, has emerged as a potential flashpoint. Cyber warfare, with its ability to disrupt critical infrastructure and sow chaos, poses a significant threat. A major cyber attack, especially if attributed to a nation-state, could easily escalate into a wider conflict. The proliferation of nuclear weapons remains a grave concern. The more countries that possess these weapons, the greater the risk of their use, whether through accident, miscalculation, or the actions of a rogue state or terrorist organization. Section 10. The Potential Consequences of Global Conflict, a Grim Outlook. A third world war, particularly if it involved the use of nuclear weapons, would have catastrophic consequences for humanity. The immediate effects of a nuclear explosion are well documented: immense heat and blast waves, followed by radioactive fallout that would contaminate vast areas, causing radiation sickness and long-term health problems. The use of even a small number of nuclear weapons would have devastating global consequences. The smoke and soot from burning cities would block out the sun, causing a nuclear winter that would disrupt agriculture and lead to widespread famine. The breakdown of global supply chains, the collapse of governments, and the mass displacement of populations would create chaos and suffering on an unimaginable scale. The long-term effects of radiation, including cancer, birth defects, and genetic mutations, would plague generations to come. Section 11. Preventing the Unthinkable, Diplomacy and the Importance of Peace. In a world still grappling with the legacy of past wars and facing new and complex challenges, the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and peaceful conflict resolution cannot be overstated. Preventing another global conflict requires a commitment to international cooperation, arms control, and the peaceful resolution of disputes. Strengthening international institutions, such as the United Nations, and upholding international law are essential for maintaining peace and security. Promoting sustainable development, addressing global inequality, and tackling the root causes of conflict, such as poverty, injustice, and lack of opportunity, are crucial for creating a more just and peaceful world. Education plays a vital role in fostering a culture of peace. Teaching future generations about the horrors of war, promoting tolerance and understanding between different cultures, and instilling a sense of shared humanity are essential for breaking the cycle of violence. In the words of Winston Churchill, never, never, never believe that any war will be good for anybody. The lessons of history are clear. War is never the answer. It is through dialogue, diplomacy, and a commitment to peace that we can hope to build a better future for all humankind.